Save the Garden is not interested in speaking out against the religion of the Church of Scientology. We are only interested in objecting to the monopolized real estate portfolio of the institution in downtown Clearwater. That's why we started. That's why we exist. In Clearwater, we suffer from a downtown monopoly controlled by David Miscavige and masterminded by a man named Moises Agami. He owns Valor Capital, as some of you know. In fact, it's Valor Capital through whom, since 2008, all of the properties downtown have flowed through to be acquired by parishioners of the Church of Scientology. There's an article about him. He's a dramatic success. Moises says, I remember having a passion for real estate since I was a little kid. From 5 years old to 13, my favorite game was, what do you think? Monopoly. And I would play for hours on end. I would invent all kinds of games. I would play until we bankrupted the bank. I would keep inventing more and more expensive types of hotels. I would even gift other players money just to keep them in the game and continue playing. I could play all weekend long and go without sleep. So as soon as I found the opportunity to start buying and developing real estate, I knew I'd found my way to one of my true passions in life. That was 2008 when he came here. He owns all of Cleveland Street. I don't know if you know that, but he's the guy. He owns all of Cleveland Street. He's the one, the genius behind the Cleveland Street Alliance. He's the one behind the Evo movie theater coming in. He's the guy. We think David Miscavige is the guy. No, David Miscavige is the, quote, ecclesiastical leader that's executing Project Normandy, the sacred papers and the instructions from L. Ron Hubbard, the founder of Scientology, to infiltrate and dominate and acquire all property in downtown Clearwater. David Miscavige has his orders from headquarters, but it is through the parishioner, Moises, that he's been able to execute that in a way that's humbling, truly, truly genius. Our founding fathers were really against the monopolizing of property by a special interest group. In fact, governments that enable the monopolization of property were something that our founding fathers spoke out against. It's not only immoral, but it's un-American. John Adams said in his Massachusetts Historical Society speech in 1787, he says, property monopolized or in the possession of a few is a curse to mankind. We should preserve not an absolute equality, this is unnecessary, but preserve extreme poverty, those without property, and avoid all others from extravagant riches, that's monopolizing property. James Madison, who was a contemporary, wrote about the conflict that arises when in a community when there's an imbalance of property ownership. In Federalist Papers number 10, he says the most common and durable source of factions in a community has been the various and unequal distribution of property, those who hold and those who are without. They never have the same interest in that society. Jefferson wrote to Madison, he says, I'm conscious that an equal division of property is impractical. That would be communism. But the consequences of this enormous inequality of property is such a misery to the bulk of mankind, and this is the most important thing. He said, legislators cannot invent too many devices for subdividing property. And some people say, well, it's not immoral. It is. Isaiah 5:8, woe to those who join house to house. They add field to field till there is no place. And Micah 2:1, woe to you who covet fields, collect them by way of manipulation, and seize them. So it's un-American, it's immoral, and don't enable the continual acquisitions. James Madison wrote in Federalist Papers number 47 that accumulation of all powers in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny. So monopoly was considered tyranny. Why? It's absolute power. What does absolute power do? It corrupts what? Absolutely. Thomas Jefferson, on preventing this type of tyranny early, said, and please listen to this, the time to guard against corruption and tyranny is before they shall have gotten hold of us. It is better to keep the wolf out of the fold than to trust to drawing his teeth in talons after he shall have entered. This is why we are such massive advocates of a lease option, by the way, for downtown Clearwater, because whatever is left of it, we don't want to have them have possession over it, right? It's better to just make a boundary now and say you can't own.